The $100,000 real estate trick that really pisses banks off. So, I had a student recently come to me with about $100,000 that they wanted to invest in real estate. I'm going to share with you exactly what I share with them because I think that people that sometimes have money, they think that that is the answer to getting a lot of real estate. And I'm going to share with you a real estate trick where you can get a lot of real estate and keep your $100,000 cash right in your bank account. Let's go.
Noelle. Yeah, she can fix that. You gotta get it done, no, you need to do it better. Well, she can fix that. Yeah, she can fix that. Investment to get back, trying to get a big stack. She can fix that. Let's fix that.
So let's get right into it. I often say that cash makes people lazy. One of the ways that I started in real estate was when I was broke, bankrupt, bad credit. That is when I actually got really smart in real estate. When I actually had a job and had money and had some savings, I was terrible at real estate. I used a real estate agent. I would use my own money. I would use my own credit because I thought that's what I had to do. So sometimes when we've saved money, we actually get a little bit lazy and we think that we should use that money and not use our brains. But the truth of the matter is what's inside of your head, your knowledge is actually going to be the thing that makes you a lot of money. So I'm going to share with you that knowledge right here in this video so that you can actually keep that money and actually still end up with a lot of real estate. And if you actually needed something went wrong, you actually still have that $100,000 to leverage to fix something or as the way to use to get even more money. I'll share more with you about that in a second. So the way that I got wealthy in real estate was with a system called taking over payment systems. I would actually find people that were behind on their mortgage payments and I would actually take over those payments. Another amazing thing that I can do is seller financing, but this works really well when properties are owned free and clear. You literally actually could not use a bank at all and end up with a 0% mortgage. That's what I'm going to teach you in this video. I'm not going to talk about the taking over payments and finding people that are behind on their mortgage payments. I'll tell you about that in a second, but I'm going to tell you how you can actually get seller financing so that they create the mortgage for you. And in many cases, you create what the interest rate is. And I'm going to share with you the script that you say to get people to do this with you. All right, let's get into this. Step one, never bring up seller financing. So when you are actually trying to find these properties to do, it is actually very easy. You can use systems like DealMachine. I will put a link into the description box where you get a 7-day free trial. And you can actually just search around and find properties that are owned free and clear. It literally will allow you to put in the zip code and actually sort out properties like that, or even properties that have very high equity where the owner is almost completely done paying off the mortgage. But the key to this is not going to the seller asking for seller financing. That is just a terrible, terrible mistake. You want to go in and find out what it is that they are wanting. How much money do they need right now? Because they are selling their home, they actually have an amount that they are looking to get as proceeds. So again, if I have a property and I am selling it, I may be selling it for $200,000, and let's just say I own it free and clear. Do I actually need $200,000 though? So one of the things that you're going to ask them is how much money do they need right now? How much net proceeds are they trying to net right now? And what are they trying to do? And you will introduce this by having conversations about what their motivations for selling the home is, what happened, finding out their true story, building rapport with them. And this will give you the information that you need to actually do these deals. It is very easy to open up these conversations because in many cases, you have found these deals legitimately. You have sent them letters or they have called you instead of you calling them. I'm not talking about cold calling. I'm going to teach you a way where you send them letters and then they call you. And now you're having the conversations about how much money they need right now. So in many cases, they will say, I'm looking for $40,000 because that's the down payment that I need to buy X, Y, and Z. Awesome. So you just ask them that. Would you be willing to take the balance in payments? And that's the question. You're not going to bring up seller financing. You're not asking if they're going to do a seller holdback or mortgage. Will you be the mortgage holder for me? None of those things. You're going to scare the person off. You're just going to find out how much money they need right now. And in many cases, it's 40, 50 grand. I have no idea, but that is just usually the number that people need. It seems like $50,000 is just this magic number for most people, even multimillionaires. I have had people that told me, oh, I need $250,000 right now, or I need $300,000 right now. But when we actually dig down to it, they only need about 50 grand. So in many cases, $50,000 is like the max that people need. A lot of times it's 40, 35, different things like that. So again, If you could give them just the 50,000, that's the number that's going to stick in your head. You're not going to say, okay, I'm going to give you that. You just keep that number in the back of your head because you need to find out what they are going to be doing. And in many cases, you know that they're moving to Florida or they're moving to a vacation home or a rental property or moving in with their kids, whatever it is that they're doing, you need to find out what that number is and then ask them if they are willing to take the balance in payments. And in many cases, they will answer yes, how many payments and different things like that. And that is psychologically all you need. Once they have now answered your question and told you how much they need right now and said yes in some way or fashion that they could take it in payments depending on the number of payments, they'll say something like that. Well, it depends on the number of payments or how many payments or when would I get these payments? Boom. Now you are in. They are psychologically ready now to take a portion of it and take the rest later. All right, let me keep going because this is super exciting. So that's a hot property that is owned free and clear. Now let's talk about someone where you're taking over their payments. Their mortgage is actually a really great asset. In most cases, their mortgage rate is less than 6%. In fact, I read a study that says over 80% of all of the mortgages, existing mortgages on homes in the United States of America right now, 80% of them, the interest rate is 6% or lower. Okay, this is awesome. That is an asset that the seller doesn't even know that they have. So instead of you then asking, oh, can I take over the payments and different things like that? Again, in your questioning, you just ask them, do you have a mortgage? How much is it? What's the balance? Different things like that, as if you're just taking notes for information on how you're going to be coming up with your number. So they know that you need information, and these are questions that you actually can ask. And with different tools like DealMachine, which is right in the description box, again, you get it absolutely free. DealMachine, you get a 7-day free trial. You can actually see the information on properties to see what the balance on the mortgage is. It gives you these different estimations. In fact, there's over 700 data points in DealMachine on the property, the owner, phone numbers, and different things like that. So you probably want to check out DealMachine. Again, dealmachine.com/Noelle. Noelle special. There is a link in the description box to that DealMachine. Again, this will help you. Also, if you want to learn more about this and you want me to teach you more in detail, come to the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp. Use code YouTube to save. There's a link in the description box and you can come to the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp on July 26, 2025, where I'll be teaching you how to use business credit and business funding to get assets like real estate. So even if you don't have $100,000, you literally could get $100,000 in business funding and still keep it doing these things that I said, so you still don't need a bank to get real estate. Let me keep going. Big secret. Now let's go back to the owners that have properties free and clear, because this is where it works really, really awesome. There's a lot of real estate out there owned by older people that is owned free and clear. And these deals are really easy to do with them, where you give them a portion of it now and they take the balance in payments. Again, you just ask them that question. And the key to this is getting the payments. They don't even know, but it's going to be like 300 payments. And usually based on my numbers, if I give you like a certain amount of down payment and I divide the balance by 300 in almost every single situation, I am making a profit. Now, you may have to do 200 payments depending on the person, but we always start with 300 payments, okay? Now, again, most of the sellers are actually really willing to do this, and in many cases, you can set this up because, again, you're giving them these numbers once they've kind of decided to do this with you, where you actually create 0% mortgages for yourself. So because you ask them how much do they need now and will they take the balance later, take the balance in payments, they have now said that they're willing to do this, and you can actually set up where those payments actually don't have any interest, okay? Again, it's seller financing. They own the property. They're actually getting an income, and it's really easy ways to convince people that this is something that's awesome for them, because instead of getting all of that money at once and paying all of the taxes and different things like that, they actually have created income for themselves, just like their Social Security paychecks or their pension. And a lot of older people absolutely love this, and this strategy works really, really well with older people, older couples that own properties free and clear. And this works really well for investors because we've been able to develop a portfolio of real estate with 0% mortgages, and we didn't have to go through a bank. This really pisses banks off because, again, remember, I used to work in banking. I worked at Wells Fargo. I worked at Chase. I worked at Bank of America in the mortgage division. And let me be really, really clear. When we create these situations, we are not having to pay origination fees and discount points and underwriting fees and processing fees and all of these fees that come along with getting a mortgage from a bank. So not only do they charge you a lot in interest, and the interest is amortized, meaning where you're paying mostly interest on your mortgage payments in the beginning, you literally pay 20 years before you really start touching the principal. And to even get the mortgage, they charge you all of these fees. They charge you an upfront fee. They charge you an origination fee. They charge you an underwriting fee, a processing fee, a title fee, the lender fee, lender looking fee. I feel like they just make up fees. If you've ever purchased a home, you will be shocked at how many fees they charge. Well, when you're using outside financing, like a mortgage company, they have a lot of fees. So this trick that we have been using, where we have been getting the sellers to become our bank, this is really pissing banks off. And many investors understand that this is the way to become wealthy and cut the banks out of it and put that money back into our pockets. Because again, instead of using all of that money to give to the bank for all of those fees and those down payments, we're now able to negotiate directly with the seller, give them the money directly. Yes, we do still have title fees and a few things like that, because of course you want to check the title of the property, make sure there's not other liens on it or encumbrances on the property that affects your ownership or cloud the title. So you're definitely still going to check the title. You're definitely still going to have some title fees, but you will not have all of those lenders fees, all of those processing fees, all of the made up junk fees that the lender charges or even the broker. You can actually skip all of that. Use tools like DealMachine, use your knowledge and your expertise, and actually become a wealthy person and piss banks off, cut banks off altogether, and make lots of money in the process. All right, one more thing. You can even take this to the next level and start putting together properties for other people. Noelle Randall has actually surprised herself, and I now have a lot of very wealthy clients, actors, celebrities, just wealthy people finding me just like you found me here on YouTube and asking me to put portfolios of properties together for them while they go out and do their thing, being a doctor, being an athlete, being a major actor in some movie or whatever. Noelle Randall finds these properties using tools like I told you, like DealMachine, and they actually give me a percentage of ownership in these properties. This is absolutely amazing and something that you could grow to do as well. You may start off just finding a few properties for yourself, but the major way that you can make a ton of money is teaching others or doing it for them and putting those properties together for them, because in many cases, you actually end up with ownership and equity in those properties. You can learn how to do this on your own. You can come to things like the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp and use code YouTube to save 50%. At the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp, I will teach you how to get business funding, how to get business credit, and how to use those things in any industry to create income generating assets. You literally do not have to use your own credit or your own money. You actually can get money from banks and even create a savings and leverage banks and business banking so that you're not affecting your personal credit. You're borrowing in your business's name, and then you are using those funds to actually make you money, buying things like real estate, growing your business, putting out ads, inventory. So no matter what industry you are in, coming to the Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp can actually change your entire business. I want to teach you all of these things that I learned, and I can do that in one full day. The Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp is July 26, 2025. It starts at 11 a.m. Eastern and goes to 6 p.m. Eastern. I am teaching you all day. Me and a few other speakers will teach you all of the tricks, all of these tools, all of these resources to actually go to the bank, what to put on the application, what to say, what not to say, which banks you should go to, what credit scores for each different tier. All of this information we will be teaching you so that you can walk away with at least $50,000 in business funding, because there is tons of money out there for businesses. You just need to know where to look, and you need to know what to say. So go to growyourwealthbootcamp.com right now. Get your tickets. They are selling quickly. This is a live stream event. I'll be live streaming from a studio. It's interactive. You can ask questions. You can interact with me and the other speakers. It's not like a video. It's not a recording. Literally, it's a full day of learning on July 26, 2025, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern. I want to see you there. If you upgrade to VIP, we'll even have a Q&A after where you can ask me questions without the whole group being there, and it is absolutely amazing. Again, growyourwealthbootcamp.com. Go right now. Use code YouTube to save 50%, and I strongly suggest upgrading to VIP so that we can do that Q&A class with just the VIP people. Again, Grow Your Wealth Bootcamp, July 26, 2025. I want to see you there. Why? Because I want to make sure that you have all of the knowledge, all of the resources, and all of the tools that you need to be successful. This is Noelle Randall. To your success.
Let's fix that.